At the beginning of chapter 3, Luke records a list of officials in authority when John the Baptist began to preach. Tiberius Caesar, Pontius Pilate, Herod, Philip, Lysanias, as well as Annas and Caiaphas, 7 in total. Now, Luke's gospel, as stated at its outset, is fact, not fiction. So there should be historical evidence of these officials and of when they ruled. So what does history say?
Tiberius Caesar, second emperor of Rome, well attested to in literature and archaeology, as we would expect. Next, Herod Antipas, son of Herod the Great and district ruler of Galilee. Among other evidence, inscriptions bearing his name, as well as coins he commissioned, have been found. Philip, his half-brother, confirmed by historians to be the tetrarch, or territorial prince under Tiberius. Former high priest Annas and his son-in-law Caiaphas. Both are noted by ancient historians and are also associated with this family tomb by many modern historians. By setting his narrative in the context of Tiberius Caesar's 15th year in power, Luke pinpoints the start of John's ministry to 29 CE. As a result, the date of Jesus' baptism, his appearance when he became the Christ, a far superior ruler, is in a sense written in stone.
Luke was moved by the Holy Spirit to trace all things with accuracy. No wonder one scholar called him a historian of the highest order.
So Luke there, tracing all things with accuracy. We've just been watching a video that gets shown during the symposium. They were moved by Holy Spirit, again dealing with the 4 Gospels. This time we're focusing on Luke. I will just say that I was actually quite impressed, if I'm being as objective as I possibly can be. I was quite impressed with the quality of the documentary format videos that were interwoven throughout the Friday of the convention. We have this Scottish gentleman who is surrounded by Bibles, and we're later going to see him kind of boots on the ground in the Holy Land, going around various locations, and I was impressed. I mean, it feels like the organization is kind of upping their game a little bit by creating videos that at least give a veneer of credibility, at least appear to be a little bit more educational, rather than as in the past when they've simply had the governing body presenting information, or the governing body sat there being the talking heads in a faux documentary. This time it seems they're choosing unknown characters from Bethels around the world, and they're letting them present the information, so you don't have any kind of expectation attached to the individual. You're only really interested in what they're saying. And this particular guy, I thought, did an excellent job of, presenting information and basically taking you on a journey. Now, it just so happens that most of what he was saying is unfortunately nonsense. But nonetheless, I was impressed with the format, and it felt like a bit of a breath of fresh air. If I were watching this convention as a Jehovah's Witness, I'd be thinking, okay, that they're improving. This is way more watchable than in previous years. So marks to you there, Watchtower. Unfortunately, though, again, the information itself is quite problematic. And a great example here is where the Scottish gentleman, he is talking about how Luke traced all things with accuracy. And he's giving as an example the fact that Luke lists all of the rulers who were in power when John the Baptist began his ministry. And he's basing this off Luke chapter 3. There's just one problem. If you just go one chapter back in Luke to Luke chapter 2, you get arguably the the biggest torpedo to the credibility of Luke in just the opening verses of Luke chapter 2. I've dealt with this on previous videos, but Luke chapter 2 verses 1 to 3 says, "Now in those days a decree went out from Caesar Augustus for all the inhabited earth to be registered. This first registration took place when Quirinius was governor of Syria, and all the people went to be registered, each one to his own city." One small problem there: Quirinius became governor of Syria 10 years after the death of Herod the Great, who was supposed to have been ruling at the time that Jesus was born. So that's a big, big problem. That's like a massive historical anomaly in Luke. And I find it quite disingenuous that the producers of this video, I'm not going to blame it on the Scottish guy. I think he's just parroting whatever he's been given to say. But I think it's quite disingenuous for them to zero in on the next chapter and on rulers whose existence can be verified, and just skip this huge, huge problem, which very much flags the Gospel of Luke as man-made and not completely historically accurate.